Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from The Guardian. It was published January 25th. It's written by John Henley and Mark Rice Oxley. All I gotta say is it's funny how bad people are, these globalist shitbags are freaking out in Europe right now. Because they are globalist shitbags. They truly are, with their fear-mongering here. Europe coming apart before our eyes, say 30 top intellectuals. Group of historians and writers publish manifesto warning against the rise of populism. Fight for Europe or the wreckers will destroy it. Now, what gets me is they write a manifesto. When someone writes a manifesto, it's never a good thing. The Communist Manifesto is like the poster child for that one. Yet, The Guardian here is trying to make it sound like it's a good thing that they wrote a fucking manifesto. And I love how they start out this article here. Liberal values in Europe face a challenge not seen since the 1930s. Leading intellectuals from 21 countries have said, as the UK lurches towards Brexit and nationalists look to make sweeping gains in EU parliamentary elections. You know what's fucked up? You know what's really fucked up? Is the Nazis were a left party. They literally were. They were very liberal, okay, to the point of, abortions and, abortions for all. You get an abortion and you get an abortion and you get an abortion, and drugs, okay, for fuck's sake. They were the ones who came up with crystal meth. And they had no problems with people fucking doing the shit. All right, they were the liberals. Let's be historically fucking accurate. And this idea of not seen since the 1930s, that right there is to evoke this image of the Nazis rising, when they're the ones being the fucking Nazis. They are literally being the fucking Nazis in this analogy. And they fear this idea of nationalists. What gets me is they want people to worship the European superstate, which would be a form of nationalism by the time that they're done with this, because they would turn the Europe into a nation. But to take national pride in your own actual nation, we gotta nip that in the bud. See, they want people to worship the EU, all right, and to have nationalist feelings towards it, but to an actual nation, no, you can't have that. And they are afraid that there's going to be sweeping gains in the EU Parliament by nationalists. But they don't realize why. It's because the EU does not represent the people. So the people, are sick and tired of what they've been forced to deal with and have been subjected to by the EU. The group of 30 writers, historians, and Nobel laureates declared in a manifesto published in several newspapers, including The Guardian, that Europe was an idea was coming apart before our eyes. Now, wait a minute. Europe as an idea. Europe as an idea. You mean Europe as a fucking superstate? Because that's the only thing I'm seeing there. Because Europe itself is not coming apart. Europe, since World War II, has had amicable relations between its nations. After the Second World War, they kind of realized that they probably should try to get along after having the First World War and then the Second World War. Makes fucking sense to do that. But that wasn't enough for these globalist shitpig types, these ones who dictate from Brussels. That are now dictating from Brussels, I should say. Because they wanted a unified Europe with them at the top. And now they're looking at the fact that they might not get that. And they don't like it. And these elites, these 30 writers, historians, and Nobel laureates, they don't like that fact. Because, oh God, what's the word? Oh God, I'm having a brain fart. I'm trying to think of a word there's a word that best fits what they are. But they're elites, okay? Nonetheless. And they're part of this globalist little fucking clique. And they like the little circles they're revolving around. They like that they're part of that in crowd. So that's why these 30 people are saying this fucked up, demented shit like, this is the biggest challenge seen since the 1930s by Europe. Hint, hint, Hitler. Hint, hint. Come on now. We must now will Europe or perish beneath the waves of populism, the document reads. We must rediscover political voluntarism or accept that resentment, hatred, and their cortege of sad passions will surround and submerge us. Oh my God. Holy shit. Wow, these assholes. Just the way they worded that. What they're basically saying is, all right, Europe will perish if you don't bow down and cuck to the fucking EU and with this political voluntarism. All right, because otherwise you're going to accept resentment, hatred, and the cortege of sad passions that will surround and submerge us. So what they're saying is either you fucking bow down to the EU or we're going to have Hitler. Give me a break. That's not what's going to happen. This should go to show how delusional they are. Either you bow down and cuck to the EU or we're going to have Hitler. That's literally what they're saying there. I mean, they're putting it, more, I don't want to say eloquently, but they're wording it a certain way, but that's the gist of it. And that should go to show how fucking deranged these people are. They are deranged. They write of their regret that Europe has been abandoned from across the channel, an oblique reference to the drawn-out Brexit process that had arguably brought Anglo-European relations to the lowest point since the Second World War. Not true. Oh my God. Holy shit. That's not true, that last part, but this right here. Because the UK, which is an island, it's not part of Europe, said we want to govern ourselves. They abandoned Europe because they weren't being fairly represented and their interests were not being, met. They abandoned Europe? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you seriously kidding me? No. They said if they tried to work with the EU. EU is an environment of unelected individuals who dictate. There's no democracy involved for the most part. Because even though you have a parliament, they have no actual real power. It's the unelected officials that have that power. I mean, come on now. And they say that unless efforts are made to combat a rising tide of populism, the EU elections will be the most calamitous that we have ever known. Victory for the wreckers, disgrace for those who will still believe in the legacy of Uranus, Dante, Goethe, and Comenius, disdain for intelligence and culture, explosions of xenophobia and anti-Semitism, disaster. Oh my God! Cats and dogs living together. I mean, for fuck's sake, this is their version of, in the original Ghostbusters movie, telling the mayor what's coming. After Winston Zeddemore goes, I've seen shit that would turn you white. Literally, that's what that is. Oh my God. Because, heaven forbid that a popular movement, aka populism, might actually, be something other than what these idiots want to try to claim as evil. I mean, self-governance to me is not evil. I mean, I'm a libertarian, mind you, but everyone else, non-libertarians and Europeans might think that's fucking evil. I don't care. It's not. And this idea that they will be the most calamitous elections they have ever known is complete bullshit. See, let me translate that. That's literally translates to they'll actually win seats, gain power, and It won't be the status quo anymore. I mean, that's what that translates to. And this legacy of Erasmus, Dante, Goethe, and Communists, they weren't fucking European globalist types. Holy shit. You literally take historical examples and you try to act like their legacy was the EU. No, that wasn't even a fucking sparkle in someone's goddamn eye. It wasn't a twinkle in someone's eye. There was no light bulb moment with any of them that said, ooh, an EU, a European Union, let's unite all the nations and have them, no, under an EU flag. No, that didn't fucking happen, but okay. And this idea of disdain for intelligence and culture, just because someone does not subscribe to this globalist shit pig crap that you do, does not mean that they are, unintelligent. Does not mean that they have a disdain for intelligence or culture, because you can be a cultured individual and not want to live in I'm going to call it what it is, a dictatorship, because you literally have unelected officials dictating what people in Europe can and can't do because they don't want to be a part of that. Does not mean that they have a disdain for intelligence or culture. All right. And this idea of disdain for intelligence and culture means that the people in the EU that run the EU, they're intelligent and they have culture, and you are all heathens. And because you don't like that we're trying to dictate to you and, take your wealth and all these other things, because we basically want to sit here and rule over you. All right, because they don't want to deal with that does not mean that they're against culture or intelligence or anything like that. And this idea of xenophobia, all right, this all comes out of the fact of the EU cramming all these people from the Middle East and Northern Africa down the throats of these European nations. They're not xenophobic. They just want to have secure borders and controlled immigration. They don't want to just have anyone show the fuck up and say, put their hand out and go, gimme, gimme, gimme. Sorry to break it to you, but that's the fact of the matter. And this idea of anti-Semitism, they always got to pull out the anti-Semitism. It's their go-to because, you're going to hate the Jews. If you do this, you hate the Jews. If you do this, you hate the Jews. I mean, they're like a broken fucking record with that shit. And that's with how much they throw the anti-Semitism thing around, it should have lost all its power by now. It really should have. But this whole guilt thing, because of what happened during World War II with Hitler and the concentration camps and shit like that, we constantly have it thrown in our faces when, I'm from a nation that put an end to that shit. But yeah, we're supposed to be fucking feeling guilty about it. Most of the people in those nations in Europe, except for like the ones that were invaded by Hitler, the ones that, were controlled by the Nazis, including Germany, Austria, Hungary, and so on, okay? They are the ones that this should be directed towards, because they were the ones who perpetrated anti-Semitism like they did. The other ones fought it. And in this day and age, they shouldn't even have it directed towards them because the sins of their fathers and all. But I'm just saying, if you're going to direct this at anyone, it should be the nations that actually committed the fucking shit, not the ones who put an end to it. So you can't do that because, England wanting out, UK wanting out, it's anti-Semitism, that's going to lead to anti-Semitism. Sure it is. Likely fucking story, but okay, because that's what they're basically saying is the UK leaving is going to lead to anti-Semitism. I don't know how, but keep telling yourselves that. Abandoned from across the Channel and from across the Atlantic by two great allies who in the previous century saved it twice from suicide, vulnerable to the increasingly overt manipulations of the master of the Kremlin, Europe as an idea, as a will and representation is coming apart before our eyes, the text reads. Oh my God. So now not only did the UK abandon the EU, Somehow the United States abandoned them too. Are you fucking kidding me? The United States, because we elected Trump. That's what they're saying. Because we elected Trump, we abandoned the EU. Oh my God, that's some funny shit. Because we said to the UK, you leave, we'll work out trade deals with you. And we didn't say, well, you leave, fuck you. We abandoned them. All right, and this idea of manipulation by the Kremlin, there has been no actual proof of this shit. They keep going Russia, Russia, Russia. When Europe, they keep going Russia, Russia, Russia here, and they have no actual fucking proof of Russia, Russia, Russia. Oh my God. This is some funny shit. The 800-word paean was drafted by the French philosopher Bernard-Henri Lévy. Signatories include the novelist Ian McEwan and Salman Rushdie. You know what? Salman Rushdie, the fucker, flees the Middle East because of a book. And he's become an all-out, full-on shit pig, like globalist shit pig. The historian Simone Schama and the Nobel Prize laureates Svetlana Alexievich and Herta Müller, Orhan Pamuk, and Elfried Jelinek, whatever the fuck his name is, okay? Basically, social elitists who are completely out of touch with their fellow Europeans, you know, from the nations that they hail from. They're completely out of touch with them. And they're acting like these people got no fucking clue. They're acting like these people are too stupid to make decisions for themselves, that their choices are going to lead to anti-Semitism and hatred and World War III and this and that. I mean, fire and brimstone, cats and dogs living together. Give me a break. Rushdie told The Guardian, Europe is in greater danger now than any time in the last 70 years, and if one believes in the idea, and if, what? I'm sorry. Every time I read that, I'm taken back by that, for him to actually say that. And if one believes in that idea, it's time to stand up and be counted. Europe is not in greater danger now than any time in the last 70 fucking years. They are literally trying to say that right now is as bad as fucking the Nazis. They don't want to come out and just say it, okay? But they're going to imply it heavily because they figure the more they imply it, the more it's going to get in people's heads and the more they're going to believe it. Let me tell you, all right? He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. If Rushdie knew what the fuck he was talking about, okay, I mean, fleeing, you know, the Middle East like he did, he would actually be talking about opening your fucking borders like they have to the culture that he fled, fearing his life from, because they were going to kill him. You would think. But no, he's got no problem with that. The same fucking people who want him dead, let him into Europe. But people who want self-governance and to not have those people in, they're causing a situation that's as bad as the Nazis in Germany and World War II. And give me a fucking break. How the hell did they think using Rushdie and this statement would be a good thing when he literally fled the culture that Europeans have been forced to import into their countries? That has led to all these things like rape gangs and acid attacks and truck drivers of peace and the Ariana Grande concert going boom and everything else. You would think that Rushdie would be speaking out about that. I mean, for fuck's sake, he's been in fear of his life of those particular people since he put out his book in the 80s. That should raise a red flag. When Rushdie has no problem with that, the people that want to kill him, but thinks that people wanting self-governance and control over their own nation is going to lead to fucking Hitler or Hitler 2.0. In the UK, I hope Parliament may yet have the courage to call for a second referendum. That could rescue the country from the calamity of Brexit and go a long way towards rescuing the EU as well. No, you mean propping up the EU, number one. Number two, the people fucking voted. Their voice was heard. Now let them leave. It's really simple. They voted for it. The majority of the people spoke. Now walk the fuck away and leave them alone, you elitist piece of shit, Rushdie. You know what? How about we take you over to the UK? We drop you off in one of those no-go zones in, say, London. And we let everyone there know that you're there. How long do you think you would live, you stupid fuck? What? I give you no longer than 30 minutes before you'd be dead. Do you want to take the over or the under? I'm telling you, if you take the under, you'd probably do better. You'd probably make money off of that one. They don't want that in their country, but you seem to want it. Oh, that's because you've got armed security and they protect your sorry ass from those people who want you dead. The average British citizen does not have that fucking luxury. They can't even defend themselves. They can't have any means of defending themselves on their person. A knife? Oh, no, he can't do that. Guns? Oh, fuck no. So they basically, the criminals have all those things. Those people who want you dead have all those things. Yet they're supposed to just fucking put up with that shit. Pathetic. You are truly fucking pathetic, Rushdie. That's an understatement that you're pathetic. You are a fucking shit-eating scumbag, dude. You truly are. I mean, heaven forbid the people speak and their voice be honored. McEwen said he had signed the manifesto because he was very pessimistic about the current moment, but try to be hopeful that the zeitgeist will turn. Palmuk said the idea of Europe was also important to non-Western countries. Without the idea of Europe, freedom, women's rights, democracy, egalitarianism is hard to defend in my part of the world. Okay. The EU is not democratic. You have pencil-pushing bureaucrats, unelected people, dictating shit. So you can't exactly defend those things using Europe, you dumb fucking bitch. I mean, I apologize for my language, but this shit really gets to me. This shit really gets to me because these people don't realize how fucking stupid they are. Oh, we're the intellectual superior elites. But yet you don't even fucking realize that the EU is not a democracy, motherfucker. And as a result of this, you can't use it to defend democracy. Fucking idiot. The historical success of Europe made it easier to defend these ideas and values, which are crucial to humanity all over the world, he said. There is no Europe besides these values except the Europe of tourism and business. Europe is not a geography first, but these ideas, the ideas of Europe is under attack. No. I love this. He just basically said Europe has no fucking culture. Every nation that makes it up has their own unique culture. You try telling a Frenchman that they do not have a culture. They will bitch slap you within 2 fucking seconds of you doing that. All right? You tell a German, they're so beat down. You tell them they don't have a culture, they'd probably buy it. British, they're standing up for their culture. So to try to act like there's no culture in Europe, and the only thing that Europe is without the EU is tourism and business, is complete and total horseshit. And I love this, the historical success of Europe. The historical success of Europe, 2 world wars that the United States had to literally bail your fucking ass out of, is historical fucking success? Are you kidding me? Or are they just writing that out of history, except where they needed to imply that, shit's worse is going to be as bad as Hitler when Hitler was around? And the idea of there's no Europe besides these values, you do realize that a lot of those values came from the United Kingdom. And then the United States after World War II. They would still be there. They were in each individual nation, regardless of if you have a European Union or a Europe of multiple nations. Those values are still going to be there. But you don't want to admit that. The idea of Europe is as a bunch of unique nations. That's the idea of Europe. That's not the idea that you want people to believe in, though. In the EU, elections in May, the first that will not include Britain, most observers predict a rise in support for populist, nationalist, or anti-immigration parties. Many of them have made significant gains in national elections. As the center-right and center-left, they have traditionally dominated Europe's post-war political retreat. Yes, but you see, you're not center-right or center-left. The right might be kind of center, but they're pretty far, they're kind of left. And the center-left has become far left these days. The Labour Party is cultural Marxist toxicity in fucking the UK. Give me a break. Matteo Salvini of Italy's far-right league has described the vote as a straight choice between the Europe of the elites, banks, finance, immigration, and precarious work, and that of the people and of labor, pledging to form a Eurosceptic Italian-Polish axis. And that's what fucking scares them. They do not want nations within the EU breaking off on their own or getting together and working together against the EU. That's the last thing they want. They see the EU falling apart and it scares them. Hungary's Prime Minister, Viktor Orban, said that the elections are a chance to bid a farewell to liberal democracy. Unlike Eurosceptics in the UK, most European counterparts do not want to leave the EU, but to take it over. What? Oh my God, that's not true. Holy shit. And it's not like they would have any power, because guess what? The parliament has no real fucking power. It's the unelected shitbags above them that do. And I love how they try to make it sound like Viktor Orban wants to take over the EU when Viktor Orban wants Hungary for Hungarians. Oh my God. Oh my God. Leading the charge against the resurgent right-wing populists are the French president. I'm sorry, but Macron's still president? Leading the charge against the resurgent right-wing populists are the French president Emmanuel Macron and the German chancellor Angela Merkel. While both have been weakened by domestic problems, this week they renewed their country's vows of post-war friendship and warned the lessons of the bloody past were being forgotten. No, they're not being forgotten. Oh my God, you can have a stable Europe and have it be made up of multiple nations. You don't need a EU to keep shit together, but all right. EU officials in Brussels believe it is possible there will be a decisive advance for populists and gains for pro-European parties, or at least a confusing mix of the two, leaving the populists significantly stronger but still facing a strong, if disunited, majority of pro-European MEPs. That's just the EU officials playing shit down. They are scared that they are going to end up losing a majority. They truly are. So they're like, oh, it's just like the idea of Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's going to win. See, we're going to keep the majority. This is no different. They honestly think that they could lose their majority, and it scares the shit out of them. It truly does. The net result is likely to be far more complex parliamentary makeup, delicate coalition building, and a European Parliament increasingly unable to pass legislation to deal with major challenges such as immigration and Eurozone reform. Ultimately, the people at the top that are unelected dictate what goes on in the EU. So to make it sound like this parliament actually has some fucking power is hilarious. It truly is. They really want to put that on that facade that it does have that control and power, but it really doesn't. While they did not make any practical calls to action, the manifesto signatories said they refused to resign themselves to this looming catastrophe. What looming catastrophe? Oh, that's right. They say that right now Europe is as bad as when Hitler was around. Fucking idiots. They counted themselves among the too quiet European patriots who understand that 3/4 of a century after the defeat of fascism and 30 years after the fall of the Berlin Wall, a new battle for civilization is underway. Now, excuse me, you're not too quiet, you stupid fucks. You're the ones screaming the loudest. You're waving your fucking hands in the air, screaming like retarded fucking idiots. Okay, going, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. If the EU doesn't remain intact, we're going to see anti-Semitism and a world like when Hitler was around. You're spurging fucking retards who won't shut the fuck up. You're not too quiet. Holy shit, and this idea of 30 years after the Berlin Wall fell, you do realize a unified Germany was a single nation. And with that fall of the wall, and with that, they unified as a nation. They became one nation. And you think that the same, but they had a culture that they shared. So you think that you can do that with Europe, is just force all these people together, fuck their cultures, and everyone's just going to get along, and we're going to have this big super state, and we're going to rival the United States. Well, I hate to break it to you, that's not what's going to happen. But you don't understand that. Despite its mistakes, lapses, and occasional acts of cowardice, Europe remains the second home of every free man and woman on the planet. They say, noting with regret the widely held but mistaken belief that of their generation that the continent would come together on its own without our labor. Oh my God. Oh my God. You actually, no, see, it used to be that the people who came up with the EU, these unelected bureaucrats that have been fucking manipulating shit, they honestly thought that the people would just fall in line. They realized that wasn't going to happen, and now they're trying to be like, well, you know, we might have to force it to happen. That's what this without our labor crap is. You know, the continent would come together alone without our labor. No, so you now realize that you got to bust your ass to try to make it happen because people don't want it. But see, you just don't want to admit that. Pro-Europeans no longer have a choice, they say. We must sound the alarm against the arsonists of soul and spirit that from Paris to Rome, with stops in Barcelona, Budapest, Dresden, Vienna, or Warsaw, are playing with the fire of our freedoms. Wait a minute. These people want self-governance. Literally. Freedom. That's what they want. They want their freedom. They want to be able to dictate what goes on in their own countries, which is literally freedom. And you're talking about the fire of your freedoms? They get dictated to. And you're talking about the EU being about freedom? Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. That's some twisted fucking shit. The signatories are Vasilis Elizakis, Svetlana Alexievich, Anna Applebaum, Jens Christians, Grondal, David Grossman, Agnes Heller, Alfred Genelink. I'm butchering these names as we get into the ones with the circles and slashes, and yeah, Ismail Kader, Gregory Conrad, Milan Kundera, Bernard-Henri Levey, Antonio Lobo Antunes, Claudio Margri, Ian McEwen, Hertha Mueller, Ludmila Utskalia, Orhan Pamuk, Robert Ryman, Salman Rushdie. Yeah, the fucker who's saying, you know, who's in fear of his life from the population that these European nations have flooded themselves with because the EU told them they had to. is saying EU good. That should raise a red fucking flag. You know, could be the fact, though, like I said, that he's got his own private fucking security to protect his ass from him. Fernando Saavedra, Roberto Saviano, Eugenio Scalfari, Simon Sharma, Peter Schneider, Abdullah Sindran, Leela Silmani, Colm Tobin, Mario Vargas Llosa, Adam Michnik, and Adam Zagajewski. That's like Zagat's and, yeah, Polish and Jew and all mixed together with that name. But anyway, yeah, these people, if you look, these are not your average Europeans, okay? These are elitists. Or they're people that have been given shelter in Europe that have become elitists like fucking Rushdie. All right? These people do not have a clue about the average, you know, Frenchman, the average Englishman, the average Scotsman, the average Irishman, the average Italian, the average German, the average Austrian. They have no fucking clue about the average person in any of these European countries, okay? Because they're in this elite little fucking echo chamber clique. And they're thinking end of the fucking world. They're thinking Hitler. And anyone with half a fucking brain looks at them and has to laugh. I'm sorry, but you have to. Because if they're thinking that Europe going back to the way it was before the EU, which wasn't that long ago, will lead to a fucking Hitler situation, goes to show how delusional they are, which is why I covered this article, because I wanted people to see how fucked in the head these idiots are, because they are fucked in the head. But anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm just going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.